We're going to talk a bit about doing pre-interviews. It's an exercise that's obviously is useful for doing your documentaries. So what we're going to try to do here is boil down this whole process. We obviously don't have time to read the 5 magazine articles, visit the 20 websites, and all the rest of it. But we're going to interview each other for about 10 minutes, write out a focus statement, and then write out 4 questions. 4 questions that you think go right to the heart of the interview.
Last summer you worked at the Kingston Whig Standard.
Nice, big, kind of wide open questions that take you to a place where the researcher wanted to go.
For the journal. How would that affect your news coverage?
I guess you have to compare the 2 opportunities I had there.
I spend a lot of time on the phone and a lot of time researching on the internet and other sources, newspapers, whatever. Especially as a video journalist, I find I have to have all my research, be much more heavily researched, plan out my questions a lot more than I did before as a straight journalist. As a video journalist, you don't want to since the other half of your brain has to always be thinking the technical side. You don't want to be caught by surprise or just not know where you're taking the story out in the field. So you want to get, as much as you can, be heavily researched before you go out and plan out your questions.
But the Stummers also realize it won't always be smooth sailing.
Statistically, I don't think what we're doing is any more dangerous than living in a big city and driving a car to work.
I think most people would disagree with you.
Well, I think they would, but I think the reason is that the ocean awakens in everybody a very deep instinctive fear.
On Saint Laurent between what and what?
Conroy and Walkley.
Oh, the other way.
Do we go right here?
For this story, most of the research was done by someone else. It was done by a researcher named Iona Green.
I am a researcher and producer, currently working as a researcher for Diane Duffy on the Health Beat for Newsday.
Okay, so we're going out to the ambulance dispatch place out here, and we're going to do an interview with a guy who's the manager of all the ambulances.
Probably keep the same kind of lighting when we shoot the actual command center.
Yeah.
This story is about ambulance service downloading, and mainly the controversy over whether or not the province is going to download dispatch along with it.
Well, next year, as you know, the region is supposed to take over running the ambulances, and there's a debate right now about whether the dispatch should continue to be run by the province or run by the region. What do you think?
Well, what do I think?
This morning at 8:30 this morning, we're there in my office with a cup of coffee, and we're sitting over the computer figuring out the questions that we're going to ask these 2 gentlemen this afternoon, and figuring out the order that we were going to ask the questions in, trying to pull out of the interview subjects the information that we need to move the story. We want to know, what does it mean for patients? I mean, that's the important thing.
What we wanted to do today was just come in and do an explainer about how the system works, how it is being upgraded, and how the people here feel about the system and the way it is and what could happen with the downloading.
If the province has control over the dispatch, is that going to be better for patients?
Will it be better or not? It's working fine right now. I mean,
so it doesn't matter who's running it, as far as you're concerned?
Really, no.
Okay, what we'll see.
Now we just select.
CML computers, doesn't know what CML stands for, are now already in. The old computers are there, so we'll see them.
What does a CML computer do?
With CML, this integrated radio telephone system, what it will facilitate with a mouse control.
Now we just select station, let's say Alexandria, send a page, enter, and it selects right away.
What does that mean for patients?
We're saving times and response times, seconds counts.
They get to the hospital faster.
Well, we get to the scene faster.
We get to the scene faster.
And that's the main...
when you're working for a reporter in the news, what you're trying to do is make sure that you're going to get all the facts straight. You've read all kinds of articles, you've heard what you think the story is, and what you want to do is call all the sources and find out what the true story is, get the actual facts and figures. And I mean, you go into it looking for things as though you've never ever heard anything. That's how I tend to approach it, is, you know, I don't know anything about this, and that's how I want to be talked to. I don't want any, you know, technical terms. The kind of terms I want are how I would write it for the reporter, so that she can then ask like a person, a lay person.
Okay, I wonder if you could just talk to me a little bit about the process. There's a call for help. Now, where does that call go first?
If you dial 911, the call goes to the police station.
These are the bases, okay? So they're all over the place.
So, okay.
They're only there in the morning, and then they're roaming.
We have to
So they take their
have a lot of
initial call.
talking, and basically the information from her head has to go into my head, and I have to know the information that she got from all the people that she was speaking to, but also how that information relates, how one side of the story may relate to the other. Will there be tension here? Will there be obstruction here? That's what we basically want. I would ask him if he's heard, does he know which way the decision's going to go?
See, he may not want to talk
Well,
to us
he
until
may
they make
not.
an announcement.
But you know, let's just ask him.
Okay,
If
sure.
he's going to play cat and mouse, he'll play cat and mouse, but let's have the questions there.
Now, this region you were talking about, that you didn't want to give me the name of, so I would like to know, because if it's a system that we might be, if it's a place where we might be going.
I can't give that out.
Is it in Ontario?
Yes.
It's in Ontario. I'm just thinking that if, you know, if we're in that situation, you know,
Only one big place.
Toronto.
Bingo.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay.
Okay, are we finished? Do we have the questions and the focus statement? I'll give you 1 more minute.
How's your focus statement?
It's coming along.
Is it done?
It is.
Can you read it?
Sure.
Please.
Dan Watt is learning his 5th language, preparing himself for an international career in business and journalism.
The focus statement is supposed to be there from the very beginning, after you've done your research on your story. So before you have an idea to start off with a story, but after you do the research, you have to have more than an idea. You have to have, you know, the germs of the story. And by forcing you to put it into a focus statement, articulating in a very, very short sentence, it forces you into thinking clearly what your segments are going to be in television, what your structure is going to be, who your characters are going to be, and what your main action is going to be.
Lisa Regan has taken up competitive weightlifting because after having almost lost her life to kidney failure, she wants to prove that she can once again beat the odds.
The mantra: somebody doing something for a compelling reason. And what that means is somebody, so that gives us our character, that is doing something, so that gives you an active verb, and that's particularly important in TV when you have to capture something that's happening, for a compelling reason, which it gives, sometimes it's the reaction to what the action was, or it's articulated best by using the word because. It gives the why, it gives the whole reason, the raison d'etre for doing the story.
Olympic-style weightlifting isn't a typical sport for women, but then Lisa Regan is anything but typical. Regan is a personal trainer by occupation. She was in Ireland in 1995 as an apprentice conditioning a varsity soccer team. Then her kidneys began to fail. According to one doctor at the Riverside Hospital, the prognosis wasn't good.
He said something about, I think, Lisa, you have about a 2% chance. And I laughed, like it was just so ridiculous. And I said, you know, why are you even telling me this? It's such a stupid number, you know.
Regan says she would stop lifting weights in a minute if it endangered her health. But for now, she's planning to continue training. She hopes to challenge for the world title in her age and weight category in 2 years' time.
I'm like a walking miracle.
So I make them do it over and over and over again. I tell people that ideally, you know, you work on it as a group, because they work in groups. You may come up with individual ones, but you have to come up with it one before you go out shooting. And it may change while you're out there in the field, but you have to have it with you. In other situations, in professional situations where you're working with crews, you're working with people other than your classmates, you know, share it with the crew so that everybody knows what the story is.